Are you bored? Bored of casting the same old spells in your tabletop role-playing games? How about if you were able to cast a Wall of Horse, which is a 20-foot-high dome of pure equine power? If that's the case, then Coffee Steak Studios has got the content for you. You can either check them out by going to their itch.io store or becoming a Patreon of their patron campaign. There'll be links in the show notes. And now, on with the show, Wizard. Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host because it's so close to Christmas I can't even talk about it. Now you've got to make sure there's many things, really important things. You got to make sure you get ready before you get ready for the big day. But on others, you've got to have your mince pies ready. You've got to have, is everything wrapped up? Are your stockings on the wall? Have you cleaned out the chimney so that the fat bearded wonder can come down and give you all your presents? And, that's just Christmas. But what do you do if you're deciding on the big day itself to play yourself some board games? I mean, how do you get yourself organised? What do you do before you play? So to help me with that conundrum, with that task in hand, I have Monique from Before You Play. So hello.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm very good. How are you?
That was really good word choice there. I was really holding it back. The giggles. That was perfect.
I was I think I've kind of like set up almost immediately large amounts of pressure that you are now the sole responsible person who's going to help decide whether or not people are going to have a good day or a bad day when it comes to playing board games on Christmas Day as well. So there's not an awful lot of pressure, but there is some. So
some is good. Always good.
we can handle some pressure. If it's any more than that, then we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, then we'll go in the red.
Exactly. Are you well? First of all, are things good for you?
I think so. I went to a convention last weekend, and so for a while there, when I got back, I wasn't sure if I was well. But as of today, I've decided that yes, I am. How about you?
I have not been anywhere near a convention, but I'm always surrounded by various children, and so the potential for me getting a cold is always a thing. So, but it's it's one of those things. It is one of those things. So we're going to just fight through. But no, con crud is real. I guess what happens is when you get several thousand bodies together, and I mean, there's definitely going to be germs. There's going to be certainly unwashed bits going about.
Oh yeah.
The potential for germs and stuff is always quite high. Was that PAX Unplugged?
Yes.
You were at by any chance?
Our first time. First time at PAX Unplugged.
Wow. What was it like? Did it live up to expectations? Did it live up to what you thought it was going to be like?
It was quite cold. I live in California, so winter for us is like 60 degrees. Yeah. So over there, we didn't pack warm enough, so it was quite cold. But the convention itself was really nice. I mean, it definitely, I want to say it exceeded our expectations by quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. But apart from the filthy animals not actually kind of keeping the AC, who's got the AC on here? It's far too cold. Do you not pack a sweater? Of course, you don't own sweaters in California. You don't even have a sweater shop.
I had to do some digging before I packed. I really did. I had to go into the other room closet to look for a jacket. It was a whole ordeal, but I found one, and apparently it wasn't warm enough.
It's just like that. It's a cardigan. It's a thin cardigan sweater.
It is, but it's always a learning experience. That's how we grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are ready.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Were you there a couple of days then? To take it because you were traveling, you decided, well, we might as well go the the whole hog then and spend a couple of days there.
Yeah, I think we were there the longest, I think, out of everyone. It seemed like, because everybody was leaving on like Sunday and the convention ended on Sunday. So we figured we'd stay till Monday. And I guess not a whole lot of people did that. So it's also a little bit of a time zone difference for us. It's only like 3 hours, but it made a difference at the time because you're staying up late and waking up early. So we took a red eye from here on Wednesday, actually, and arrived there Thursday. So we're there Thursday to Monday, quite some time.
That's like a mini break.
It was, yeah, it was.
Did you get see when you're going there and you've obviously got your media thing going on? Are you conscious about kind of? Do you have days where you decide, okay, this is the business day. This is the day where I'm going to meet with X, Y, and Z people just to kind of talk to them, maybe about videos that you've done and stuff like that. Do you kind of split up the days, or do you just kind of go, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming, how many people can we speak to? Let's just go and see what we can do. Were you quite organized?
It started out, so this is our first United States convention. So this is the first time that we're meeting with a lot of these people. And so weeks leading up to the convention, that's exactly how I wanted to plan it. I said, okay, we'll do everything maybe like on Saturday morning or this and that. And as you get closer to the date, I think publishers start to realize like, oh, we should start, scheduling more meetings with these other people. And by the time the convention hit, we had a full schedule the whole weekend. So it didn't work out that way. But it was still really great, like being able to meet everybody for the first time and start establishing relationships with people and playing games at night. Luckily, the convention ends at a certain time, and then after that, you pretty much free play. So we're pretty much gaming at night and meeting with people during the day.
So did they close down the hall then, and then you get chased out, and then you've got to go and game somewhere else? Is that kind of how it works?
Kind of. So the way that PAX Unplugged works, actually, it's just one big room, basically. Unless you do like role-playing games, and then that I believe is like on a different floor. But specifically for the board game section, it's one huge room that's divided into, I guess, in half. And so one half of the room is where all the exhibitors are, and then the other half is sort of like the free play. They have tables set up that have like the new titles from Essen, stuff like that, and tournaments. And so they partition the wall once the exhibitor room closes. So everybody gets squeezed into the other half if you choose to stay, and then you can free play there until like midnight or so. So you don't have to leave the facility.
Yeah, okay.
Until midnight.
And then you get to play as much as you want.
Yeah, they have a lending library, and it's a quite a big library, so that was nice.
Cool. You've been to Essen as well, am I right? You went on to Essen earlier this year as well.
Yes. So actually Essen, the reason why we don't go to US conventions is because we've been going to Essen even since before we started making content. This was our third.
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is our third year going to Essen this past. And the reason why is because it's actually more affordable for us to go to Essen than it is to go to Gen Con. It's really strange the way that flights work on this part of the country.
That is so weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like we have to drive to San Francisco because it's a huge airport, and they have deals, I suppose, like all around the world.
Yeah.
And our flights there are really cheap, going to like London and then once you're in Europe, then you can just kind of travel for not that expensive either in between the countries. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so it made a lot more sense to go to Essen.
So it's just another reason. It's like, are you going to Gen Con this year? It's like, no, I'm going to Paris.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's actually what happened. Right. I think maybe last year, because last year we went to France, and we wanted to go to Gen Con, but we ended up not for that reason.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. So there's a big difference, because what I get told, Essen's really quite different from what you would see at kind of other conventions as well. It's very much the kind of everybody's showing their wares and the buyers are going about, and there's a lot more of a bigger kind of commercial aspect to it than there is at Gen Con and PAX Unplugged and things like that as well. So it's kind of fun that way. Did you manage to get lots of games played at PAX then? I mean, did you?
Yes, barring the meetings during the day, because the meetings kind of took time where we wouldn't be able to get like a longer game in because we had to like leave for a meeting. But barring those, yes, we were able to play quite a few. Especially on the last day when everybody left, suddenly all the games were just like open. Like we were going back and forth from all the new titles and stuff. So it was really fun.
So you're able to kind of go and everybody's going, I never got a chance to play the latest hotness. And you're just like going, yeah, I did. 'Cause I stayed Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
I got all the games. In fact, they had so many spare copies left. They just gave me 4 or 5 spare copies as well. So I'm not only playing it when I'm there, I'm also going to be playing it all this week. And we're going to play the separate copies too. Kind of thing, because it'll be really good fun.
Exactly. So stay till Monday.
In terms of a haul-in, did you go? Are you controlled with getting a haul? Do you say, okay, I'm going to pick up? I know I'm going to get this game, and this game for content purposes, but do you also set a budget to say, well, actually, we know these companies are going to be here, so let's grab us some of this, and that.
We're not really big on I don't know how to explain it actually. We don't do a whole lot of purchasing of board games. It's the strangest thing. We're very calculated when it comes to adding things to our collection, mainly because we have so many games on our shelves that we haven't played. So we don't, I try to stay away from doing the research because I know that I'm going to start creating a list, if I look up the games ahead of time. So we kind of just get there, see how much space we have left, and then see if there's anything, that's kind of worth it. So we don't really have a plan of action in terms of the haul. Yeah.
How do you hold to that plan of action then? I mean, did you just get there and say, give me all the games, all of the? I don't even like that game over there, but just give me. I'll just take that one as well. I'll just give me that copy of Terraforming Mars. I know it's terrible and it should be burned, but I'll just take it anyway. I'm going to take it outside and then I'm going to eat pizza on it and then I'm going to throw it away. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, we're very calculated. We try to well, actually at Essen it's different. At Essen, because they have a lot of games that don't come to the US market or come very late, then we do we do have a list. but we also have to be very mindful of the amount of space in our luggage. And we also try to play the game before we decide to pick it up. But a lot of the games yeah, that's a big rule for the both of us. My husband and I, we really try to play test the game and really have a conversation about it before we pick it up. But a lot of the Japanese games or the Taiwanese games, we'll just buy. They're hard. Those are impossible to find.
Are they? Yeah, are they really? Are they really, really difficult to find then?
Yes.
I don't see many on the market.
No, you pretty much have to import them if you don't buy them when they're in front of you when you're at the convention. So I think that's why those sell out so quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they're very unique.
Are they? How do they go under different? Is it different styles as well? Is there a specific type of genre that you would find them under? Are you looking, because a lot of German games you would say, well, they're more kind of Euros kind of ish. They're generally a little bit kind of heavier. Whereas is there just again many kind of different genres that you can get within the kind of the Japanese kind of board game kind of market?
I think that from my experience, a lot of the Japanese and Taiwanese games that I played have been the quicker gameplay. You can just kind of sit around and play them, and they're usually no longer than an hour or so, just from my experience. Right. So, but they do range in the different mechanics that they use. So there's quite a lot of variety in terms of that. But typically they'll be faster games.
Do you have a mixture of? Do you have quite a big collection yourself then of kind of Japanese and Taiwanese games?
No, not at all. We probably have less than 10.
Really?
Yeah, and mainly because we always tell ourselves we're going to pick up this, and this, and then we get there and it's sold out. We didn't pre-order it. We're really, really bad at planning on picking those up.
So here's the list of all the games we're going to cover, and here's the list of all the games that we didn't actually manage to pick up at the same time.
Right.
And you could just basically cover one with the other and they kind of exactly match. Yeah, I kind of do that a lot. I kind of get that, and I'm kind of, I don't know. There's the whole fear of the new thing, but there's just games that like 3 years down the line, I still don't have in my collection, and everybody's kind of like going, "Oh yeah, Azul 3's coming out. What do you think of the other ones?" It's like I've never played Azul.
You haven't played Azul?
I've never played 1? I've never.
Oh.
I've not, I've never ever played it.
Yeah.
I met the designer of Azul. We were at a donut stand, and there was a really nice donut, and I went to reach for it, and they went to reach for it at the same time.
Oh.
And we had a really big argument, and then I looked him in the eye, and I said, "I will never, as long as I live, look at your stinking little tile game."
Oh, no.
And then I just left. That's not true.
Over a donut.
It makes a good story.
I'm assuming he won the donut.
I can't even talk about it. I still it's still a sore topic. How did you get into the hobby? You mentioned you and your husband are kind of playing games. So were you both? Was it something you ended up kind of started doing as kind of like as a couple? As in, we could watch something on the TV, or let's play a board game together because it's a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So it's always kind of like the typical story that both of us have been playing separately since we were kids, right? Just like the stuff that you get at Target. But I was actually introduced to board games or, modern board gaming when I was in high school. My friend had a copy of Bang, the card game, for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah, I have no idea, actually. He's my best friend, and I have no idea where he got it. But one day he just brought it around, and we couldn't stop playing it. Like, we would schedule days, our group of friends, to gather around this game, this card game that I don't really see many people playing anymore. But and it was ruthless. I don't know if you've ever played Bang, that you can really go after someone in that game. So, and then we played a game called Killer Bunnies. Have you heard of that before?
The name rings a bell.
It's a really random game. But we loved it.
I've maybe dreamed about it, but I can't,
it was like a cult game.
Killer Bunnies.
It's actually called Killer Bunnies and the Quest for the Magical Carrot. But we were obsessed with that game. And then after that, we didn't really game until I met my husband. And I met my husband because I moved down to Southern California. I'm from San Francisco. And I moved down here for my master's program. And I was finishing, it was like the year that I was graduating, and I was really stressed out, and I needed a hobby outside of music. Yeah. And something that I can meet people and have friends in Southern California, So we have this thing here called meetup.com, and I found a board gaming group that way. So I was the first one to actually find other people in the hobby. And then my husband followed suit. He kind of was interested in what I was doing, and then he got sucked in, like, really hard. He fell into the whole...
What was it you did your master's in? What is it you studied?
Oh, I'm a nurse practitioner. So,
okay.
I don't think they have nurse practitioners all over the world, so I'm not sure. Do they have them where you're at? Do you know?
Kind of. There's a lot of kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the sense that I get. It's like it's basically I'm a nurse who went and got a master's degree, and now I can practice medicine. It's the craziest thing. It's weird.
That yeah. So it's kind of like you're kind of as good as a doctor, but you don't have to work on your golf swing.
Yes.
I'm kind of guessing, and I'm guessing that you also don't get as much money as they get as well.
Correct, and and for the most part, we do what they say in a lot of situations, but it's still like a pretty good job.
So, is that what you do as a job just now? Then is that your kind of your job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do, and I'm not doing anything else.
Cool. So,
which is pretty much every day.
So you're playing games with your husband. You're going on meetup.com. You're going to games groups. your husband then kind of comes along. Is this? I mean, did you find yourselves kind of gradually kind of like growing into kind of like, we're just building a collection here. It's kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Did you ever get into the situation where you're buying gifts for each other on, say, Valentine's Day, and you bought exactly the same board game as each other?
That's funny. Oh my, I didn't even think about that. That would be hilarious. No, that's never happened. And I think the main reason why is because our taste in board games is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both tend to like the same weight in a game. Like we're both pretty heavy Euro gamers.
Yeah.
But he likes them as dry as you can get them. Like if it's if it comes like in a brown box with just like artwork from the 1800s, that's like his jam. He will put that at the top of his list, and I'm just not as keen on that type of game. So whenever I have surprised him with a game in the past, it's one of those. Something that falls in that category. So
it's the kind of game you could actually play with like buttons and cubes and stuff like that, and it's like that is kind of like as thematic as it. You just buy them.
Correct.
Just, I've bought you, what have you bought me for Christmas? I bought you a rainbow of various different coloured cubes. And you just sit there and you just watch, it's like it was either that, honey, or it was new sandals.
That's brilliant. I think I'm going to add that to his
You've got time. You might got time.
Gift.
You have to go and
get him a bag of cubes.
Just get him a bag of cubes. Just random ones. And he says, and he's like, why? Because there is going to come a point where you are going to be in the kitchen making yourself like a coffee or something like that, and and a pancake, and all you're going to hear from the other room is, honey, have you seen my blue and orange cubes? Because we were playing Incontina, the one that's the really dry Euro game that I love, and I swear I can't find the cubes anymore. And rather than him being despondent and sad, you're going to say, honey, go to the cube bag.
The cube bag.
And I've got 3 shades of orange that you can kind of pick from.
That's perfect. I think a cube bag and a history book is what's going to be under the tree for him this year.
And he can make his own game.
There you go.
That's what you're driving him for.
Now we're thinking.
Well, it's either that, or he gets either that, or as he gets older, he buys a shell of a boat. And he ends up like Andy Dufresne in the Shawshank Redemption, just where you go now, I'm just making a boat, and it's like, honey, we live in an apartment, there's no space for the boat. But anyway, has your taste changed? I mean, do you, as somebody who creates content about board games, do you have to be a bit more open about what your tastes could potentially be?
I think so. I think that it depends on your goals, right? If your goals are to appeal to the masses, then yes, definitely. You have to try everything. You have to try everything, and you have to feature as much of a variety of genres as you can. But if you go and start making content thinking, no, I'm just going to appeal to people who like heavy Euro games, then so be it. Go for it. But you have to understand that you're only going to be attracting a specific part of an already niche market. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So it really just depends on what your goals and your values are. But for us specifically, we kind of went into it thinking like, we're just going to play all these Euros and find all the people who are into Euros all over the world. And then it didn't work out that way. So now we are definitely expanding our breadth, I suppose.
What's your kind of your ideal game? I mean, you mentioned obviously your husband likes to dry stuff. So are you more of a kind of like, give me a viticulture, give me a bit of Feast of Odin, give me a bit of Everdell kind of thing, give me that.
Oh yeah, my favorite designer is Vital Lacerda.
Yes.
Have you played? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I love his games because they are very heavy. They're heavy Euros, all of them, but they have a theme. They each have like a personality. And even though, obviously the theme isn't going to apply to every single mechanic that's in the game, like some stuff is just there because it's just there. But the personality still speaks to me, So I love all of his games.
So what would you say your favorite one is?
It kind of goes back and forth between Kanban and Lisboa. Kanban was the very first one that I'd played by him that really hooked me. And I would probably still say Kanban, but Lisboa is very good. Very, very good.
Because I had Tool was on, and he did a lot of the art for Lisboa.
Yes, that's right.
It's a lovely, beautiful kind of light blue, just different colours, and it's a striking type of board that when people walk past it, you're kind of like, oh, I need to stop and kind of like appreciate what's kind of going on in this kind of board. So would you say you're quite analytical then? Are you the type of person who'll look at, I guess based on your job, if somebody comes in and goes, yeah, my arm's not feeling well, and it's like, well, I think could be athlete's foot. But are you quite...
Exactly.
Do you like kind of like plan ahead? Are you quite strategical and kind of get analytical when you're kind of like playing a game?
When playing games? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's pretty much how that's part of the reason why we started making content at all, was because we would play these big games when we would finish them and have these like long discussions over them and how, what we thought about the mechanics in the game and how we were able to further our strategy, etc. So, every game is like that. It's really intense. I don't know if it's the most ideal way to play a game, but...
Do you remember what kicked it off? What made you kind of make the decision to kind of start creating content then?
Yeah, so I've actually been thinking about it for the past 2 years. It just took a long time to get started. I had started an Instagram in like 2017, and then the thing about making content is you have to be consistent. And so that's where a lot of people kind of fall off, is because it's a grind. It's like a daily, weekly grind forever. And so I had to stop the Instagram because we were getting married that year. And then earlier this year, I don't know if you've ever seen a channel called Show Me How to Win. It's a YouTube channel from by my friend Jackie. She features female gamers, and we play a game and we break down the strategy, 4 different strategies, that kind of thing. Yeah. And she had invited me on for an episode, and she like hires a camera crew. It's a really thorough experience. So after that, I was very inspired. I said, oh my gosh, I think I want to do this kind of on the side.
And is that when you started off first with kind of like, did you sit down and say, okay, what we're going to cover kind of first of all? Did you try and plan it out first of all? Did you just say, right, I'm going to pick you off the shelf and where's my phone? And let's just kind of start kind of filming something.
Yeah, actually, it started off, a lot of people kind of gave me advice at the time before I even started the channel, saying like you at this point it would be ideal for you to find something that would set you apart from all other content creators, right? Because the scene is a little bit more saturated than it used to be. Yeah. And so I really, really love teaching board games. I probably love teaching board games more than I love playing them. And that's something that I had been doing at the local conventions for maybe 3 or 4 years now. Yeah. And so it started off as me saying that I wanted to just do board game tutorials. So I have a few tutorials up on there right now, but that's what I wanted the channel to be only, like just board game tutorials that show people how to play the game and also how to teach the game. So I kind of started off doing that, but it takes so long. Those videos take quite a bit of time to produce. So we kind of, after that, we kind of ventured into the playthrough space, which is kind of where we're at right now. But, I don't know, content is funny that way.
Tutorials are just, they're the worst. They're just a minefield. Anybody that does tutorials, I mean, Paul Grogan, gaming rules, and he's like, I'm going to do a tutorial. And I'm just like, I have so much respect for somebody that sits down and says, okay, let's show you how to do this, and this. Because there's 2 things, and obviously, there's two things to that, and Rodney Smith as well, is that I know I would get something wrong. I know that I would be argumentative with somebody who was telling me I got it wrong, even if they showed me took photographs and showed me the relevant section in the rule book. I would still be like, I can't. I am. The way I played it, the way I read it, it read the way I was teaching it. But does it need a script? Is it more kind of scripted then?
Specifically, the ones that we do are always scripted.
Yeah.
And the main reason why is because I don't actually show my face in them. So in order for me to do that without having to re-record so many times, I just decided to write a script and record the audio first. Not only that, but also so I can kind of go through the script and make sure none of the rules are wrong, which doesn't always, work out. But yeah, that's mainly why. So because of that, it takes a lot longer. I have to sit and write the script. That's the first thing that I do. So it can be quite involved.
And does it make it easier to kind of go back and edit stuff in if you're just having to kind of add in, if you go through it and go, oh, I should have said that, or that doesn't sound right, I'll need to go back and edit. I think it's relatively easy to go back in and rejig the audio and then just make sure it's kind of matching up to the kind of the video kind of afterwards.
Oh, yeah. As long as it hasn't been published, anything can be fixed fairly quickly. Once it's published on YouTube, that's kind of... that's where it gets tricky, because I've posted some tutorial videos in the past that have had like an error, a rule error, because it's just inevitable. So it used to be in the olden days of YouTube where you could actually go in and like make a little pop-up bubble. So by the time the person gets to that part in the video, it'll show the correction. Yeah. But they kind of nixed that, and so that kind of makes it difficult after it's already been published.
You can end up like kind of almost issuing a retraction to say we'd like to apologise, but you should have actually been. Or as I think Rado does it, talks about putting on kind of like the Klingon subtitles so that you can pick up on kind of any potential errors that he's made as he's been kind of playing it through.
Right.
You do kind of like videos where you're saying, okay, this is how to teach people who already know the game how to teach people how to teach other people how to play the game. And it's a little bit Inception-y. I was expecting... it's kind of like a tutorial.
It's a teachception.
It's kind of like a tutorial within a tutorial. Did you notice that yourself as you were playing, that folk were saying, right, I'm going to teach you how to play this game, and it just ended up being like a rules fest again? You ended up, okay, just give me a second, I know how to play this game, but I just need to go and check this stupid little rule that I kind of forgotten. Is that kind of one of the reasons why you did it?
Actually, the main reason why I did that is because I've been prone to a lot of teaches in the past that maybe were not as effective. Yeah. So some people, I feel like teaching in general is kind of something that you naturally can do, or maybe you naturally can't as much, or you just really don't know like what the structure should be when teaching a game or teaching math or whatever it is that you're teaching. And so there are a lot of people who kind of struggle with it. And I have some friends actually who it gives them anxiety knowing that they have to teach a game to a group. Like they prepare all night and they get really nervous. So and I have quite a few friends that are like that. So it kind of came from that, just me wanting to help people who are kind of in that boat.
Oh no, yeah, totally. I mean, there is nothing worse than, especially if and you'll probably be in the same boat as I am in, which is, I'm obviously, I can't construct a sentence at all at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic on a podcast. But you're occasionally in the situation where you're playing a game so that you can either get an idea of how that game plays or have the ability to create the content to play that game. Especially if you're looking at a game like, say, Tapestry, which I notice you've got like a video on there, but one of the reasons to put a video out there, because it's got your video on Tapestry's got, reasonably huge number of views. It's got about 5,000 views on there, because it was obviously as a bit of a kind of an internet darling at the time.
Right.
I guess my point is kind of like, do you ever feel like it's like I feel like sometimes I'm learning to play this game to learn to play the game, as opposed to doing what the game was all about in the first place, which is have a really good time, kind of thing.
Yeah, it does become quite businessy. So we've actually decided recently in order to combat that, we scheduled a 1 day a week, which is kind of just for the two of us, my husband and I, where we play through just like all the games that we wanted to play that week. And we do, some of it is for content, some of it is for not content. So that kind of helps us bring it back to why we do this in the first place, right?
Yeah,
to have
exactly.
fun and play the game. Yeah. Or else it does become a little bit too businessy. It's weird. Very strange.
It's just, I don't, I've spoken to a couple of people about that. It's kind of like getting back to kind of playing games for the kind of the enjoyment kind of thing. And
right. And speaking on that as well, I've noticed that as we get more and more into content creating and meeting other people who create content, everybody else is kind of telling us the same thing, where when they started making content, they started playing less games. So, and that, I find that to be very sad. So we're really trying to make it a point to not get to that. We really want to just make sure that we're focusing on why we're doing this, right? Because it's easy to get kind of lost in trying to put out your content and making more, that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially if there's like a time scale. I mean, we kind of have been doing more and more kind of Kickstarter kind of preview stuff and just general chats. And occasionally, if I'm up to it or feel interested in doing it, I'll do like a quick video, but I don't promise doing videos because my setup is atrocious. It's not very good at all. It's just it's not good. And it's as organized as my show notes are for a podcast, as in there isn't any. But yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah.
Video is quite a beast, you know. I mean, even if you do have the equipment for it, it's just, people go to school for that kind of thing, you know? Like they dedicate their lives to figuring out how to make video well. So
I know, and you can still tell. I mean, you can tell on people that have obviously had some kind of training, or they're at the point where they're doing stuff just ridiculously well in terms of kind of like videos, that their stuff kind of stands out. I know that,
right.
Bless Rado for all the stuff that he does, but his actual, his gaming capability is amazing, and he's really good at helping me to decide whether or not I actually want to play a game. But the technical filming side of things isn't it's not, I mean, it's better than mine.
It's his own style.
Yes, it's his own. Yeah, that's very diplomatic. It's kind of like, but then you get someone like obviously like yourself, or Luke Hector, or you go to the other extreme where you get somebody like say Paula Deming, and their stuff is like you're just like looking at it and going, this is like you have been doing this with a film crew, and it's very very kind of annoying. I don't mean that. I need to watch that. I'll just she's gonna kill me.
I met her for the first time at PAX Unplugged, and she is delightful.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Of course absolutely. She is. I was expecting. Here you don't talk to me. There's a potentiality I'm gonna meet her next year at AirCon, and I am absolutely terrified of that potential situation.
Why?
I just, it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of veering between kind of being quite cheeky and kind of being quite kind of complimentary, but normally it's, somebody's going to give me a slap. So at some point, I don't know if it's going to be there or somebody else. We'll just have to kind of see.
Play it by ear.
play
it by cover. Film it.
I'm not going to give you the pleasure of seeing me getting slapped live on video. That's just not going to happen. Do you, with you, kind of, you'll be getting noticed, and I'm guessing that you're going to be getting contacted by publishers to say, would you consider looking at this game or this game? At the same time, do you end up kind of balancing out kind of playing games in order like say Tapestry, for instance, that was a popular game of the now. Did you make the decision to say, well, let's get some Tapestry content out there in order to help kind of boost the channel?
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a little bit of that for sure. Jamie Stegmaier, Stonemaier Games has been really doing well this past year, and I'm actually quite a big fan of his anyway. So it was just kind of doublefold. Like we were interested in the game already. I'm a member of his. He has like a group, the Champion. If you support their content, it's kind of like exclusive. You get things earlier, that kind of thing. So I was a Champion member, and so I talked to my husband and I said, well, why don't we try to get this early? There's a lot of buzz about it. We are interested in the game anyway, so let's order it early and try to put it out as quickly as we can. So right when we got it in, we said, okay, we're gonna set aside this day. We're gonna play this game, and we're gonna figure out how it plays. We read the rule book before the game came, so that we were just like ready to play it, and then we tried to get it out as quickly as possible. So so definitely.
Do you go back and play games after you've played them then? I mean, are there games that you've played that you've went, thank goodness I've got through this, because this was an absolute nightmare, I hated it?
Yes, there are some games that we'll play through and we'll think, yeah, that was okay, but I don't think I need to play it again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think we've covered anything that we've hated so far. So everything has just either been just okay or fantastic. And if it is fantastic, we actually have a whole shelf in our house dedicated to what we call as forever games. And those are games that we know we're not getting rid of anytime in the next 5 years. Yeah. We'll try to replay those.
Yeah. I mean, it's really surprising, but a lot of the games that I kind of went, that's okay, are quite a few Kickstarter ones that have come in that have kind of like, they were like really, really kind of like were, hyped in, and everyone was like, yeah, I backed this, and yeah, I'm the 57,000th backer. And then they get it, and you see the ones that aren't doing, that've obviously hit there, and people are just like, I'm not wanting to play this because it's too late, or I'm not excited on it, or I've played it and it's not as good as it could be.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of, I see quite,
Kickstarter is tough. Kickstarter is really tough that way.
I think it's difficult to maintain excitement. It's almost like Kickstarter's kind of like going to see the new Star Wars film, but what happens is that you buy your ticket, you stand outside the cinema, you get the popcorn, you sit down just before the film about to start, and then the lights come up. And they say, okay, in about 8 months' time, we'll send you the download code for the kind of the Blu-ray version, and you're just like going,
oh gosh,
and you're like going, oh,
right,
okay,
yeah,
okay, but I'm gathered here with all these other people that were surrounded me. They're all sitting in the cinema, and we were all talking about how excited we were about seeing this, and now you're telling me I'm not going to see it for 8 months, and then so that's kind of like, but it is, right. The
excitement becomes stale almost, right? It almost expires.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of games out there that rely on the hype to kind of get them going, and then some of them do really, really well, and then some of them, when they arrive on Kickstarter, they just kind of like they kind of unfortunately kind of like they just disappear forever. But then you do get some games that kind of like they come back when the Kickstarters fulfill, and then they climb up the BGG rankings again, and everybody kind of gets like really excited. Especially, it's interesting to see kind of like the really bigger games. Like I think games like Tainted Grail has just arrived, so I've seen a lot of people kind of playing that kind of game, and it's kind of shot up the charts. But there's other games that are arriving as well, which just that's it. They're not kind of going kind of anywhere
Right.
at all.
Yeah. Kickstarter's tough. I think
is.
for all parties, even for the publishers.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole psychology, you know.
Do you get offered kind of Kickstarters? Do you get people kind of saying, you know, asking to do kind of videos and help kind of get you to get them kind of exposure and stuff?
We do. Kickstarter is a really tough one. It's kind of a tough topic, actually, just because they range so highly in quality and you know, so it's really difficult. And a lot of them, they don't have a budget, or they have very specific needs, and creating a video for any kind of content is very time consuming. So we have to be very careful about which projects to accept. When we first started out, the advice was take as many Kickstarters as you can. So we took a few, and we started hating making content for that reason, because it's quite demanding. You know, they need things by a certain date. You know, a lot of times the projects aren't full versions. Like they're like prototypes, and they're missing. The rules change. I think that might be one of the more difficult things. Is sometimes they'll give you the rules, and then you'll make the content. The rules will change. So Kickstarter is just kind of a big. It's pretty difficult. I see it. I kind of see it all the time, and it's quite. And it's also there's nothing worse than if you don't get on with the game, and you kind of I'm kind of like, I know that, you know, it's kind of like, it's the worst case, because it's like, yeah, I've spent all this time kind of creating this stuff, and I know that I'm gonna come across like you know, unkind. Because I'm saying these particular things don't work, which means there's a potentiality they're never ever going to link the content in the campaign kind of anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I've spent my time playing the game and I didn't like it, and now you're never going to use my kind of stuff. How long does it take you to do a video? Because people, it's like, you know, you do like stuff which is fairly, you know, it's fairly involved. So, I mean, are you talking, is it a couple of days for you to put something together then? Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Always. It really depends on what it is. If it's a playthrough, obviously, you know, filming the actual playthrough, these games will take us an hour and a half to 2 hours to just play the game and film it, and then getting all of the footage together in one place, and then actually doing the editing of the video will be, I can probably put it out the next day if I worked on it, you know, for so many hours the next day. But if in terms of the tutorial series videos, those take, I give myself a week for those, for sure. And it also depends on how long the game is. Yeah.
I mean, how is it difficult, and has it been quite difficult to teach your dog the technical skills required to edit the videos as well?
No, he teaches me. He's the one with the degree.
Well, he's got what kind of dog have you got? Well, I've got the one over there who's a sous chef. But this little one, he has a little whittle now and again in the corner. But he's actually he's done 3 years at film school. And
he's quite a director. He's like, you put your hand up, and then I will high five you. Okay,
that is so cool. I've seen that. I don't know if you've seen the Efka and Elaine at No Pun Included. They've got their little dog now as well. And I'm just saying, is this where we're heading now? Is this where we're heading? Do we need to have kind of? Because I've brought a bunny into the video, and I'm quite. I mean, if this is where we're going, then this is kind of how it's kind of going.
I mean, I think so. I'm not complaining.
I want somebody to bring in a tiger.
Oh. Oh wow.
I just, you know, I'd see them.
I would be very afraid for that person.
You imagine how nervous they would be. Kind of like, I'm going to just gingerly move this meeple up the track while the tiger's just kind of gently kind of looking.
You have to let the tiger win every time.
I let them. I didn't let them win this one time, and as you can see, I've not got that finger left. Is there attempt to? Is it tempting to change the format and try new things. I mean, how do you keep yourself kind of motivated and going? Because there's always kind of, and it happened to me back in kind of August, September, where iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever, other podcast thingies are available, but they changed their algorithm, and we totally crashed out the Apple charts, like I think everybody else did, and the download figures kind of took a drop of about 20%, and I just went, that's it, everything is over, we have to stop everything. But how do you keep yourself motivated? Do you set yourself goals to say, okay, well, if we get 10 more views on a video, then that's great, or if we get 100 more views on a video, then that's kind of brilliant. And how do you go about kind of managing expectations and setting goals for yourself?
Right, that's a great question, because that's actually something that we've been battling through for the past few months. Well, I mean, we've only been doing it for a few months, but pretty much throughout the whole thing, that's a question that we've been asking ourselves. And I think the answer now is that we have stopped caring about the numbers. Because if we focus way too much on how many views we're getting and how, this and that, then it's just going to be way too stressful. So the number one thing is we're not actually in love with, we're not actually tied down to any specific thing that we do. So we used to do unboxings, and we've recently ditched them because they were really kind of a pain for me to do, and they were just not worth it after a while. So for us, if we need to make a content switch, we're not afraid to do it. Because our concept is, if we're doing this and we love it and we continue to improve in the ways that we feel that we need to improve, then the people will come watch it if they'd like to, as long as we're doing the marketing in the proper ways and trying to get the video out to people who we might think might be interested, then people will come, is kind of our philosophy on it. So we try not to get hung up on the numbers. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I think that is, you end up kind of second guessing, and then you end up I've seen a lot of content creators, and as I say, I understood for us it was the algorithm that was at fault, because I spoke to a couple of people, and they went, well, yeah, we're all the same. And then within the couple of months, we're hitting within kind of the top hundreds on kind of for games on Apple Podcasts. So I'm like that, I'm so good at this. Great. I'm amazing. How amazing am I? Cut back to me going September, going, I hate everything. Podcasts are rubbish. Board games are rubbish. I hate it. And but yeah, I see people that kind of you end up kind of second guessing yourself.
Right.
With you kind of having the collection, do you ever kind of look at the shelves and just go, I tell you what, let's just do something on everything that we've kind of got and forget about chasing the new stuff which everybody's doing, and let's just run our own little series and let the audience kind of find us, kind of thing?
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that, because we're actually in the middle of a big transitionary period for our channel, where we have new equipment and we've upgraded some stuff that we're going to start using. But in addition, our content is going to be maybe shifting a little bit. We have a ton of games that we have unplayed on our shelves, and that's it's funny you mentioned, because that's exactly what we're going to do for the next year. We're going to try to play all of them, and we're going to call it the Shelf of Opportunity or something series, where we're going to just play through all these games that we haven't played that are on our shelf and try to make a decision on them and kind of make videos on that, so people can see playthroughs of older games, because I'm a big fan of older games. I'm not 100% on, the cult of the new, because older games are still really, really great. And so that's part of the goal, is to try to feature some of those. Yeah. And if I had say, if I had $1 for every time I kind of I've got a game on the table which has been sitting on the shelf for 6 months, and I finally got it and went, wow, I wish I played this sooner, I would have at least about maybe $26.50. Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. We have gold sitting on our shelves. It's true.
I kind of, I must admit, I'm kind of having I'm not having a break from Kickstarter, but I'm not looking as much, just because of how much things cost, and you know, and also at the same time, I'm kind of like saying, well, as you said yourself, there's gold in them shelves, and I've not touched, you know, and there's nothing worse than saying, right, okay, I'm going to buy this because it's an actual bargain, and you get it, and then it kind of like sits there for 6 months, and it's like, well, I could probably use that for the electricity bill, so we weren't sitting in the dark.
There you go.
I could have used that instead. What kind of games? Okay, with you going back to your shelf of wonder, glory, and fun. I'm sure there's some kind of acronym you could make up for that. I don't know, or abbreviation or something.
Cave of Wonders.
The cave of wonders. The shelf of. I don't know. You've got to watch out because that could just end up a whole different type of wrongness. But what games are you most excited at the moment of getting back, wrestling from the shelf of wonder and excitement and joy, and putting them on the table and filming them? Not the new stuff, but the older stuff that you have.
That we've already played? Because we have quite a bit of games that we... Oh, yeah. So Feast for Odin, that's been constantly in my top 5, you know, ever since the first time I played it. And that's really a game that I had no business liking, but... Oh my goodness. We got the expansion to it and it just made it better, and that's one of those games that we would like to play. But the answer to your question is actually a wide variety of games. We were just looking at the collection today, and even Quadropolis, that was a title that had come out a few years ago. Yeah. That people, it was more of like a for, you know, for people who aren't quite in the hobby, this is something that they could play, but it's got quite a bit of a strategy to it. So that's one. Goa was one of those dry games that I actually bought for Naveen, my husband, as a gift. But it's amazing. Yeah. That's another one. We have Caverna and Agricola, and we need to figure out which one we want to keep. We haven't played Agricola at all. So I know we have Fields of Arle that's sitting there, kind of unplayed. Quite a bit, actually. Yeah. We're in the middle of we have a Pandemic Legacy Season 2 game that we've been playing since it came out. I don't know how long. Was that a year ago? Was that a year and a half? 2 years ago? Wow. Something like that? We have no idea what's going on in the story anymore. Hang your shelf in... I was going to say hang your shelf in shame. That could be it. There's the name of your show. We're going to stop you from hanging your shelf in shame. There you go. It's a foreword by Sean Connery. But I mean, I've still got the others by Simon that I haven't played, and I've had that for years, and I keep bringing it down. Yeah, it's kind of like you have to just kind of schedule it, right? You almost need to. It's like a big read, and there's a lot of stuff, and there's not that many kind of playthrough. There's not that many kind of playthrough videos that are kind of a decent. It was unfortunate because I think it was a game that got a lot of hype, and then it came out, and this was one of the ones which people just, you know, they're now selling it on kind of like secondhand on Facebook groups, and they're saying, okay, the others with all the stretch goals, and you know, some meringue pie that I had sitting around the house, $30. Kind of thing, and people are starting going, I'm not, you know, they're asking more questions about the meringue pie than they are asking about the actual game, kind of thing, which is always like, but I've got that, which I'd love to get. I would love to get that to the table, kind of myself. Yeah, we have a Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you ever played the Consulting Detective. We had that game for years. I don't even know if we've unshrinked it, or I think it might still be in shrink, but it's quite a lot of reading is what we were told, so we hadn't opened it, but we will one day. I think you need to be in the right mindset for that game, because it's one of these things where the game is just nasty to you, because you kind of like, from what I've heard, condescending, I think the thing is. I think what happens is like you kind of go, you kind of say, well, I managed to kind of, I carried out 15 tasks to kind of find out, you know, how the crime kind of happened. And then you kind of you reference what Sherlock Holmes does, and he went, I found it in 3. And it's like, this is what I did. And you're just like going, all right, thanks. You know, an avocado. I hate it. Well, bring it on, Sherlock, I think. I'd like to see. Bring it on. I'd like to see that. You'd kind of take
Could have taken him on. What about? I mean, you mentioned the Instagram. Are you going back into Instagram again? Are you going to be? Is there going to be more kind of content?
Yeah. So we have an Instagram now that we've been posting like micro written reviews. So here's the deal. We started the Instagram again this year before we started the YouTube channel, and we were doing like 3 or 4 board game reviews a week on Instagram, and we would take all these pictures, and it was a whole thing. And then we started doing the YouTube channel, and we were like, "What? Wait, hold on. There's not that much time in our lives to do both." So we still kind of do the Instagram. It's just not what it used to be, but we're kind of preparing to revamp everything again come January, now that we're home, for an extended period of time, because that's been quite a big part of it.
Do you feel are you going to continue? Is the kind of the nature of your character? Is it to kind of change things and ramp things up a bit? Are you the type of person that are able to sit there and just say, well, let's see how it goes? Or are you kind of like, let's try new things, let's do this, let's do that, and see what kind of impact it can have?
A little bit of both. Like, I think I would still like to continue the same kind of content we were making. Yeah. Just kind of timed properly so that we're a little bit more consistent. And then I also tried to I'll like think of new ideas along the way to feature on Instagram. So we do like short tutorial series sometimes on Instagram as well. Yeah. And so we'll try new things, but Instagram is kind of tough. It's not as receptive, I would say, or it's not as organic as other platforms now, is what I've been told, because of the way that their algorithm works. Yeah. So some days I care a lot about it, and some days I don't really care as much. I made a lot of friends on Instagram, which is kind of what I care about the most. Yeah, I put kind of pictures up, and then I kind of like a lot of folk like it, and I'm just like saying, this is great, but what does it mean? Yeah. This is fun. Thank you for liking this. And it's like, right. I've still got to capture doing a story, because I get you get people that they do stories, and I'm just like, what kind of witchcraft is this? What are you doing? So I need somebody out there, like some kind of Instagram guru, to come in and say, right, it's quite simple. You take a video, you go into the tools, you add your extra stuff, and you're all kind of fine. Are you going to be going to quite a bit of tinkering? It does. There's some tinkering involved there. It does, and and I'm probably like yourself. I'm probably like kind of like, some days I'll kind of like uber obsess over it and kind of go in and say, okay, can I do this? And other times I'm just like going, oh, I forgot to post these pictures on Instagram that I thought I said I was going to kind of do it. And it's the same with all the other channels. I think there's almost a temptation or almost a pressure sometimes to, if you're a content creator, then it's like, well, you need to be putting everything that you do out across as many channels as possible. And I think you naturally end up floating towards spending more time and care and attention on one. And I think absolutely. And the thing about Instagram is they really want you to be actively engaged on their platform. So so if you're not actively commenting on other people's pages, or you just kind of post a picture and kind of just leave it, they won't push your content out to people as much. Yeah, that's kind of how their algorithm works these days. So it's very time consuming. Yeah, I think it's kind of almost built for people a lot younger than me. who would probably like going, Dad, can you help me with my car? And me going, because they'd be like constantly kind of taking kind of selfies, and you literally see these people that is all they're doing. They're constantly taking selfies, and they're commenting on other people's selfies, and I'm just like going, exactly. But what's happening to your soul? That's the question. Where did it go? Where did it go? Kind of thing. Are you going to be going to more cons next year then? Have you got a big itinerary now of what you're going to be able to do? Yeah, absolutely. I think the PAX Unplugged was kind of like our starting one. And then we're definitely going to try to go to Origins. We're kind of on the fence about Gen Con just because of kind of what people tell us. And because it's a very, very expensive weekend. So we're trying to figure out what makes the most financial sense in terms of time off as well. But definitely Origins and probably PAX Unplugged again. My husband's trying to convince me to go to Essen again next year, but we will see.
Go to Aircon. Go to Aircon in March. It's in a place called Harrogate, which is kind of like a lovely kind of English town city thing, and it's a lovely place, and you can come and play lots of games. And I think there's going to be Aircon, they had Rodney Smith this
nice.
year, and next year I think Paula's gonna be there, and Matthew Jude's gonna be there from This Game Is Broken, and I also think Suzanne Sheldon's gonna be there as well.
Very
and
cool.
I'm thinking of going too, but I don't think that's gonna be, and I'm still got to have words with Mark about why I haven't appeared on any of Aircon's literature to say that I'm going to be there. But there you go.
Sounds beautiful.
It's really nice. It's really friendly, and it's not like kind of overwhelming. And I really, really enjoyed it. I met some fantastic people kind of earlier this year, so I'm definitely kind of tempted to kind of go back again.
Yeah, definitely.
If people have listened along tonight and they've went, I need to check out the content, where do you exist on the internet webs? How can we find you on the internet webs?
So we're at youtube.com/beforeyouplay.
Okay.
We're also on Instagram, so same handle. It's at instagram.com/beforeyouplay. And you can find me on Twitter. Naveen doesn't do too much social media, which is great. But I'm on Twitter, and it's _beforeyouplay_, because somebody took the one without the underscore.
And I bet you they've not tweeted. I bet you they've never ever used it as well.
Yeah, probably not.
The worst people in
Strange
the world.
world.
Yeah. No, what I'll do is I will make sure that we put all the links in the show notes so that we've got notes to show, so everybody can see it and find and follow and check out the content, for goodness sake, you lovely people.
Wonderful.
I like you.
Thank you.
I all like you out there, but on occasion, just do what I say. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, then please go to the internet webs and search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us in all the different worn out places and worn out faces and all that jazz, as they would say, like your Instagrams and your Twitters and your Facebooks and our blog. And you can find us on all the podcast catchers of choice. We've got YouTube as well, but don't check out the YouTube. Otherwise, it's kind of like watching a compilation of the death scenes from Saw. But if you do like what you've listened to tonight, go to Apple Podcasts and give us a subscription and give us a rating or a review. If you're going to be giving us a rating or a review, don't give us 10 stars because the ego has landed. Or don't give us 1 star because it does make me cry. And look, at the time of recording, it's a week until my birthday, and you don't want to be making me cry. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm begging. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average. And, we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average tonight, they're rather wonderful, rather fantastic, from Before You Play. It's Monique.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards?
We're not.
Good. I'm glad. and the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Monique. Say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. Make something awful. And before you do anything, before you get off your chair, before you go to make a cup of tea, before you get out of your car at work, just before you do anything, just make sure you check out before you play. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.